Congress party. In fact, George Soros' statement, the opposition has reacted to it. Congress at this point distancing themselves from George Soros' remarks. Congress's Jairam Ramesh says, and I quote, "Nothing to do with George Soros and what he said. Soros cannot determine electoral outcome in India." Jairam Ramesh claims whether Prime Minister linked Adani scam sparks a democratic revival in India, it depends entirely on Congress and the opposition parties and India's electoral process. Has really nothing to do with George Soros. Our Nehruvian legacy ensures people like Soros cannot determine our electoral outcome. This is the statement coming in as an official statement from the Congress party's Jairam Ramesh. Maushmi joining us, tracking the Congress for us. Maushmi, one would imagine the opposition taking on the government based on what George Soros said, but it appears lessons learned, Congress distancing themselves from a comment made by one of the most well-known billionaires in America, George Soros, claiming that Adani's downfall will be synonymous with Modi's downfall, and this could spark a democratic revival in the country apart from institutional changes. Smriti Irani has responded saying this is a bid to defame India on a global stage. Tell us more.
Nabila, clearly the attack on the Adani Modi row has escalated to mammoth proportions even after the parliament session, and we've seen the Congress party going on the ground, conducting several PCs, that is today, press conferences on the Adani row. 23 leading countries, leading states, cities, we are seeing press conferences by the Congress. So clearly this is an issue that has got the potential of a political firestorm that continuing to brew in the country. But the Congress being very, very tactical there, in fact, slamming Soros and saying that he cannot determine political outcomes and electoral outcomes in a democracy, and in fact distancing themselves from the remark. But clearly with the government, senior ministers, latching on to that remark of what Soros has said, clearly intensifies the battle on the Adani row. The government has been saying this is an entire strategy to defame the country and in fact defame the Indian economic system, which is very robust. And despite that fact, the opposition is only trying to score political brownies on this issue. So clearly the tit for tat will follow, and we will have to see how the opposition treads on this.
As we see here, all right, stay with us, Maushmi. I'm going to cut across to Majid Memon joining us on the phone line. Mr. Memon, here we see George Soros almost speaking the lines of the opposition in India, saying that Adani and Modi's downfall will be synonymous. Adani's stocks have fallen like a pack of cards. Modi has been complicit to the misdoings of Adani, and this will eventually bring down Modi's rise in the country as well and maybe spark democratic revival. Do you reckon with what he said?
This Adani crisis has created furor, and it has created restlessness among countless investors, both in India and even outside. And therefore, the whole accounting has to be done, and the people who have lost their monies will have to be compensated. And therefore, you see, BJP now calling it as a conspiracy against Modi, it doesn't seem to be a correct position. There is no question of the Hindenburg being only because of the hostility with the Prime Minister individually that they have made some kind of a false accusation. It is not so. There has to be some substance in that. Far from inquiring as to what is the allegation, what went wrong, the BJP is trying to follow the policy of escapism. You see, the Honorable Prime Minister not say a word, although there was so much noise throughout the country, all over banking, all over the financial system of the country, the impact on the stock market, and all that. The Prime Minister or the Finance Minister had the audacity not to speak a word throughout the Parliament discussion and debate, whatever took place in the first part of budget session.
Right. we do understand those are the lines of which the opposition has spoken in the parliament and outside, constantly accusing the BJP of being complicit to Adani's alleged misdoings. But on the contrary, we have George Soros, a billionaire, on an international stage in Munich, speaking about India not being a democracy. What would you say to that?
No, actually, the only concern is not to show Prime Minister in bad light or not to show any hostility with Irani as a businessman. There has been something which went wrong, as a result of which there is such a big financial crisis running into several lakh crores. So that has to be addressed. Running away from it by saying that nothing happened, this is a conspiracy against the Prime Minister or against Adani, well, I don't think that would be the correct position. BJP friends who may be ruling the country, they will have to turn to it rather than just escaping.
You know, Mr. Memon, George Soros did not stop at that. He went on to speak about India's ethos, about how Prime Minister Modi's push is to make India a Hindu country, marginalizing the Muslims. These were extensively the words that he said in that long speech that he made in Munich. Is he well within his right to speak on India's democracy at all? All right, we seem to have lost him, but I'm going to cut across to exactly what this billionaire investor, George Soros, said in Munich. That's really sparked the attack from the BJP's leader, Smriti Irani. Let's have a listen.
India, Modi and business tycoon Adani are close allies. Their fate is intertwined. Adani Enterprises tried to raise funds in the stock market but failed. Adani is accused of stock manipulation and his stock collapsed like a house of cards. Modi is silent on the subject, but he will have to answer questions from foreign investors and in Parliament. This will significantly weaken Modi's stranglehold on India's federal government and open the door to push for much-needed institutional reforms. I may be naive, but I expect a democratic revival in India.
All right, that was George Soros' statement in Munich, which has sparked huge row, with the BJP now responding, saying a bid this is of George Soros to divide and defame India.